Hey folks, welcome back to the JLC MMA show. I know I'm a couple of days late here, but for good reason. All right, I was waiting on the fight kits from Venum to be released. This weekend's fight card has changed a little bit. We lost Darren Till to injury, but stepping up is Kevin Holland, coming off his loss a few weeks ago from Derek Brunson. You know, he's going to step in and face Marvin Vettori, so that keeps this whole card alive. And I'm really excited for it. We're going to get into that. I really want to start with going over these fighter kits, because holy shit was I disappointed. All right, let me pull up the first picture. We'll get straight into it. I'm not going to waste any time. And what in the Go-Go Power Ranger hell is this shit? I mean, seriously, what the hell did Venum just do? You look at some other ones right there. I am really, really disappointed with how these turned out. And look, I'm not a fashion designer by any means. But damn, like, to me, they so disappointed. No, seriously. Okay, so like, if you look at the first generation that Reebok had for the UFC, go take a look at it. Take your time, Google it. If you don't remember what they look like, they were awful. They were awful. Second gen, I really liked. They were simple. They had options, and then Reebok started listening to the fighters. What was that fighter? God, I can't remember his name, but asked for camo ones, and they finally brought in camo ones right at the end of the Reebok deal. But this from Venum, this looks like a poor swim team. Like, not a rich one. Like, very poor. And then let's look at the champ kit. I'm going to bring that up too. Okay, so this is the one that I'm not going to say that I like it, but I dislike it the least. Okay? I think the black, gray with the gold pinning on there, the gold UFC emblem befitting a champion. Yeah, I get it. To me, those look better than the regular fight kits. The women's one, if this is really the women's one, it makes no sense to me. It might not be the women's champion one. You would think somebody would be smart enough to at least have the gold lettering on the top for the female champion. I mean, it's there on the shorts. Surely it would be on the top. Maybe it's just for photo purposes. I don't know. But overall, I don't like this. I really don't like this. Let's go back to the first one, because all right, there we go. Okay, so you see we've got there's Brian Ortega, or it looks like Brian Ortega. I'm pretty sure that's Brian Ortega. And you've got, that looks like that shirt. The shirt looks like something straight out of Old Navy Active, okay? And nothing against those who wear Old Navy Active, okay? Okay? Old Navy Active, I've been strapped for money before. I've bought some Old Navy Active stuff in my time. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is the premier fighting league in all the world right now. This is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And Venum is coming in taking over for Reebok, a worldwide athletic brand. And Venum dropped the ball, in my opinion. I mean, you might not share my opinion. If you like it, if you've got a lot more fashion sense than I do, like, drop a comment, let me know. I'm curious to see what people think about this. But to me, I just don't like it. I'm not sure who the girl is in the photo. You got Aljamain Sterling, your bantamweight champion, rocking the white shirt with the yellow shorts. And speaking of Aljamain Sterling, okay, hold the fucking phone right now, because, okay, last night, ONE FC, I guess they're based out of China, they had their big debut on TNT, network television, and they had Mighty Mouse, you know, one of the greatest of all time, greatest flyweight fighter of all time, gets knocked out in the second round by Marias, Brazilian guy that he was facing. And I guess in ONE FC, you can knee people while they're on the ground. I mean, I'm waiting to see where the fuck Piotr Jan's reaction video to this, and like, I swear he probably broke his television watching that. Because if you don't remember, Piotr Jan lost his title to Aljamain Sterling by an illegal knee to a grounded opponent. If you go back and look at this Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, he was fully on the ground. That shit doesn't fly in the UFC. So, what the hell? Shit's crazy this week. We're losing fights. We come out with this Venum crap, and then, you know, Mighty Mouse gets dethroned by what's an illegal knee to a ground opponent, and every other, you know, MMA promotion except for ONE FC. It's like they went to Pride rules. Golly. All right. Okay, so back to the fighter kits, okay? Because I had a problem whenever they announced the Reebok deal. Now, I don't have a problem with the UFC opting for a fighter kit, okay? I don't have a problem with that. A uniform for a professional league makes sense, right? Basketball does it, football does it, baseball does it. Boxing doesn't do it. You know, UFC tried and did do it. Okay, I don't have a problem with it, as long as fighters are compensated. You know, and they were, and I don't think it was particularly well from Reebok. So, and I want to say, like, at the beginning of the Reebok deal, they announced how it was going to be so fantastic, and it was going to be worth over, $75 million. I might be getting these numbers wrong. If I do, forgive me. But, you know, through the lifespan of the deal, it's supposed to be like, you know, supposed to amount to like $75 million for the fighters throughout the life of this thing. It only hit about half that mark, a little over half that mark, I believe. Like I said, I read that somewhere. I can't remember where, and I wasn't going to waste my time going back and pulling that back up. But, you know, hey, the deal was, you know, for a certain number of fights, you know, let's just say, you know, a fighter had 10 or more fights but wasn't a champion, he was going to get like $15,000 per fight from Reebok. In the Venum deal, they told us it was going to be an even better one. And then a couple of weeks ago, they released the numbers on it. It's only like $1,000 more per, you know, better than it was than the Reebok deal. And here's what I don't like. Because to me on the surface, and I could be way off because I'm not a part of the UFC, I'm not in their inner workings. But on the surface, as it appears to idiots like me, is that the UFC, negotiated this on the fighter's behalf. Which screams the UFC should have a union. I don't want the UFC to have a union. I don't want the fighters to unionize. You know why? Because unionizing takes the fun out of it for everybody else. Look at the NFL. It's shit. Why? Because they have a union. They also have an idiot running it. The NBA, unionized. Guess what? Basketball's not fun. Oh, you want to tell me it's still fun? Go look at their freaking numbers. Who's watching the NBA? Barely anybody. Who watches Major League Baseball? Barely anybody. How many times have they been under strike in the past 30 years and you only get half a season? It just doesn't make any sense, okay? Unionizing in the sports world is bad. It takes the fun out of sports. What the UFC should have done, and I don't have a problem with the UFC having a representative there to facilitate the deal, okay? But to me, why not pick somebody that works for the UFC that is a former fighter that can attack it from the fighter's perspective? Because this is supposed to be the fighters, right? The UFC negotiates their portion of it to come back from them, like a referral fee, if you will, for bringing Venum or Reebok or whoever else they decide to bring to the table. You have the UFC representative there. Look, somebody like the likes of Forrest Griffin. I think he's still employed with the UFC in some fashion. Like Forrest Griffin would have been the perfect representative. He's been of this generation of the UFC. The Fertitta, well, it's not the Fertittas anymore, but the Dana White era of the UFC. He's been there since almost the beginning with Ultimate Fighter 1. He's the winner of Ultimate Fighter 1, had a long run in the UFC. He would have been perfect. But then what I would have liked to see is you pick a male champion, a female champion, a veteran of 15 or more fights, male and female. I don't know if there's probably not a female fighter, but a veteran female fighter. And then you take a rookie fighter, somebody that has less than 2 years in the UFC, less than 5 fights in the UFC. I would still call them a rookie, male and female, because I think you need both perspectives here. I would absolutely put those fighters into that as negotiators for fighter contracts, like as far as the contract with the outfitter, so they can negotiate what the rookies would get paid, what veterans would get paid, and what champions would get paid out of this deal. And then they try to negotiate and pick the best one. Okay? And then you have Forrest Griffin there, who is a former fighter, but also works for the UFC, as the tiebreaker vote. If they go and vote on it and find something that would work for all parties. Something that they can. But I think that the UFC fighters should have represented themselves. I don't think they should have sent representatives, because that's more along those lines of that union that I was talking about. But yeah, like maybe they could have been in the design process too, but maybe their fashion sense is like mine. Maybe we would have ended up with that still. I don't know, but they could at least approved or disapproved of the fighter contracts. I do think that, look, before the fight kits came out, and I believe all the fighters that say that they lost money with the Reebok deal. I believe them. Because what's to say, WansCouches.com sponsoring, because that's what type of sponsors were on the shorts before. Some of these lower fighters had to get whatever sponsor they could on their shorts. And I understand from the UFC's point of view, like that's what they were trying to stop. Let's get some reputable stuff on there. But yeah, fighters were doing whatever they could to get the extra money. Why? Because UFC pay it's not great. It's not boxing pay. It's certainly not NFL pay. It's certainly not Major League Baseball pay. So there's nothing wrong with them trying to chase more money. And if JuansCouches.com is the one that does it, or if Astroglide or Dr. Pepper or whoever wanted to do it, it's money. Every little free spot on your shorts was potential revenue for a fighter. And I believe some of those fighters that say they lost a ton of money. Vitor Belfort said that he lost, tens of thousands of dollars. Actually, I think his was more. I think he said his was like almost $1 million that he lost over the course of the Reebok deal and his time in the UFC. So I could be naive. I could be just straight ignorant. Maybe this didn't play out that way. Maybe the fighters were involved. I don't know. But if the fighters weren't involved in the negotiation process for fighter pay, reimbursement for Venum or for these outfitters, I look at that as egregious. Like that's wrong on so many levels. Very wrong on so many levels. So I don't know. Enough of a rainy day. We have a lot of excitement this weekend, okay? The UFC has given us a great card. It's going to be on ABC. I believe this is the second time we've done, we've had the UFC on network television like ABC. I think it's still going to be on ESPN and ESPN Plus. But you're just opening more eyes to the sport. So, like I said, Kevin Holland stepping in short notice against Marvin Vettori. And I'm going to say it's a smart move for Kevin Holland. Take as little time as you can to dwell about your last loss, because he did. He got dominated by Derek Brunson. He didn't take a lot of damage, which is obvious because they're, his medical suspension, he's getting the medical clearance for this fight, 2-3 weeks later? Yeah, absolutely. So for Kevin Holland, the brand, I want to get back right in there to contender conversation. I've got a number 6 opponent that's in my division. I'm ranked number 10, and it's going to be on network television. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Kevin Holland, you're a smart man. You're a very smart man. Jump in there. Marvin Vettori, is that a winnable fight? Absolutely. Absolutely. Marvin Vettori, does he have good wrestling? Yes, he does. Is it Derek Brunson level wrestling? No. Does Marvin Vettori prefer to beat you up standing up versus taking you down? I think so. It appears so. He does have good takedowns, and he does wrestle in his fights. But this guy comes to stand and bang. If I'm Kevin Holland, I absolutely take this fight. I don't want to sit with a bad taste in my mouth from the last one for very long. You get back in there and you raise some hell. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. So kudos to Kevin Holland. It makes a perfect sense. And for Kevin Holland's brand himself, getting back into the UFC, getting back into the octagon and doing it on a stage where you're, again, a main eventer. But this time around, you're not just on ESPN Plus. You're not just on ESPN or ESPN2. You're on ABC. You know, how many people have ESPN Plus? You know, not as many people that have, you know, network cable. You know, the exposure level for Kevin Holland in this fight is why it makes the most sense for him. Like, he's going to build his brand up. He's you know, this is his, again, second main event slot in the past 30 days. You establish yourself as a fan favorite, and I think he's already building to that. But now you're getting all the eyes on you because you're not limiting yourself with a pay-per-view. And granted, pay-per-views generate a ton of buys. But ABC is network television. Like, this is huge. This is ABC Wild World of Sports shit going on in 2021. Like, let's go, Kevin Holland. Let's get some. And facing Marvin Vettori. So Marvin Vettori didn't have to accept this fight. You know, it's a main event slot. You know, Vettori, not well known. I've watched a lot of his fights. This kid is good. He is legit. He is a legit contender in the 185-pound division. Does it make sense for him to accept this fight? You're damn right it does. Marvin Vettori, kudos to you. You know, you're sitting back. Your guy falls out. Darren Till falls out. Which, you know, was that a great matchup for Vettori? It absolutely was. That was going to be an awesome fight. But Kevin Holland, is this too dangerous of a fight to take for Vettori? Well, if I'm Marvin Vettori and I watch back Kevin Holland's last fight, I look at that and say, okay. A few days isn't too bad to institute a new game plan. All I do is take the guy down. So if you're Marvin Vettori, of course you take the fight. How do you not? And that's not to say that I think that this Marvin Vettori and Kevin Holland fight is going to play out exactly like the Derek Brunson fight. Now, a couple of weeks isn't enough time to change the deficiencies that Kevin Holland has in his wrestling game. But Marvin Vettori is not the threatening wrestler that Derek Brunson is, in my opinion. So this absolutely is going to be an electric main event. And this whole card has a ton of name value, but also has some up-and-comers that you might not know about. I'm excited about this card, top to bottom. Top to bottom. All it's missing is a championship fight, and this is a solid pay-per-view right here. Since the UFC absolutely has, I guess in their ESPN deal, they have to have a championship fight to put on a pay-per-view. I don't get that one because, I mean, there's exciting fights that you can throw on a pay-per-view and it not be a championship fight. So, but that's what ESPN prefers for the pay-per-view for the UFC, is to have, you know, pay-per-view fights as the main events, or have championship fights for pay-per-view cards. So let's pull this up and we'll go down the list here of the fights. So, of course, Marvin Vettori, Kevin Holland, there's not any odds right there, but you can see Marvin Vettori ranked 6, Kevin Holland ranked 10. Okay, co-main event, like this is ones that you might not know about. I mean, if you're a diehard fan, then immersed in the UFC, like you'll know these guys. Arnold Allen, who's ranked 10th in the featherweight division, versus Sadiq Youssef, who's number 11th. You know, still very young guys, still fairly new to the UFC. That's an exciting co-main event. Next up, you got Sam Alvey. You know, fan favorite. Smiling Sam Alvey. Who doesn't like the guy, right? And he faces Julian Marquez. And Julian Marquez, you know, he started making a fan favorite name out of himself for calling out Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus, where you at, girl? You know, I don't know if he ever got a response. It'd be interesting to find out. Maybe he calls out Demi Lovato next. Who knows? Let's see it. I'm excited for this one too. Nina Ansaroff, who is wife of our bantamweight and female women's bantamweight and featherweight champion. Amanda Nunes, the woman's GOAT. And Nina's just coming off having a baby. This is her first fight back. There's a lot of storyline to that. And she faces Mackenzie Dern. And that Mackenzie Dern came into the UFC as a baby face, beautiful girl that can kick ass. And that's what she was billed as, and she's been hyped up, and she is always a threat. This is a great fight. Then you've got the dumpster fire outside of the UFC, known as Mike Perry. Inside the octagon, he's known as the Platinum Perry. He's always ready to go to war, and have a ton of respect for him inside the cage. And I think he's kind of a douchebag out of the cage, but that's okay. So, he's fighting on the card. He's fighting Daniel Rodriguez. I think this is another exciting fight on the card. So a solid main card top to bottom. Really. Prelim-wise, you've got Jim Miller, who's ageless. He's been around forever, versus Joe Selecki, young up-and-coming. Scott Holtzman, one of the best nicknames in the business, Hot Sauce. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman versus... I'm going to murder this name because I've already told you guys that I'm horrible. But Matuz Gamarot. I think that's right. It sounds right. And if it's not, I apologize. Norma Dumont Viana versus Aaron Blanchfield. John McDessie, another veteran, versus, Ignacio Bahamondes. Yeah, we'll go with that. Bahamondes. All right. Jorgen De Castro versus... Shit, they did it to me again. Jaris Danho. Yeah. Look, okay, so heavyweight division. Again, here's another proof. Jorgen De Castro is one of those up-and-comers in the heavyweight division that we talked about a few weeks ago. This guy's got legit knockout power. He looks huge, but he moves very, very well for being a big guy. He's one of those ones that's up and coming in the heavyweight division. So I'm excited that in recent memory, we've seen this shift from the same old guys up top, to now, like, the UFC kind of dedicated, and invested a lot of time and energy into cultivating a young, youthful influx of heavyweight talent, and it's paid off. It really has. We've got young stars. Hell, we have our new champion right now. After that, so I'm excited to see this heavyweight bout play out. And Yaris Danho, if I mispronounce your name again, I apologize to you too, because you could probably kill me. So, next up, Hunter Azure versus Jack Shore. Now, this is the one that this is the one that I think is the sleeper fight. I think this is going to be fireworks between Hunter Azure and Jack Shore. You're going to see some type of fight-ending sequence out of this fight. Jordan Griffin versus Luis Saldana. Da-Un Jung versus William Knight. And then early prelim, one fight. And this one's at 10:30 a.m. So I guess the prelims start at 11 a.m. And this fight will be at 10:30 a.m. On UFC Fight Pass. And it's Impa Kasangane versus Sasha Palatnikov. Palatnikov. Yeah. You ever notice, like, the further I get down on these cards, the harder the names get? Yeah. Okay, so Impa, you might remember him. Back in October, he faced Tyron Buckley, another up-and-coming guy in the welterweight division. Impa, there's a lot of hype around him. He came off of Dana White's Contender Series. This was in my opinion, the knockout of the decade. All right. So, Impa caught Tyron Buckley's kick with his, caught his leg, caught his foot, and Tyron Buckley spun and threw a kick and hit Impa Kasagane. I don't have the video pulled up. Go watch that. It was one of the most fantastic knockouts I'd have ever seen, and I'd put it up there with the likes of Cowboy Cerrone's knockout of Matt Brown, of course, Francis Ngannou's knockout of Alistair Overeem. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've seen Uriah Hall's knockout on the Ultimate Fighter. The list goes on and on. There's been a ton of great knockouts, but this one was just, whoo. You ever see a knockout that just makes you shiver? Like, that was one of them. And I've only shivered at a couple of knockouts a few times. And in recent memory, I think the only other one I can really think of is the Francis Ngannou, where he almost took Alistair Overeem's head off. It was like Rock'em Sock'em Robots when you win. I mean, that head just, it separated from the shoulders. So, I mean, like I said, name value top to bottom for this entire fight card. I like it. I'm not gonna do fighter picks or fight picks. I think I'll just save those for the pay-per-views. But if you've got any interesting takes on this event or an event coming up, if there's any fight that you want to focus on, leave me a comment. I'll read the comments and I'll take that into consideration. Give you a shout out on here, and I'll give you my take on what I think. Let's look at what we have upcoming next weekend. Saturday the 17th. The UFC has another fight night at the UFC Apex. It's going to be Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum, the fight that never was able to take place. Well, it's taking place now. So I like this fight. I think it puts Whittaker, if he beats Gastelum, right back into the title conversation to go get his title back. So we'll talk more about that next week. And then 2 weeks from now, UFC 261, where fans are coming back. We're going to have a sold-out VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. Super excited about that. The UFC has really done a good job of giving us fans a solid, entertaining set of cards for the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited about what's coming up. And I'm really excited about fans coming back too. So, like I said, next week's show we'll recap this Holland and Vettori, and preview some Whittaker versus Gastelum, and hopefully nothing else crazy happens between now and then. We lose out a bunch of fights. Yeah. So hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel. We've got some more content coming your way. We've got a couple more shows coming your way in the very near future. Leave me comments. Hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.